Hey, Pat.
What up?
I got a question for you.
I have an answer.
It's a cooking question.
Okay.
To preface a little bit, for New Year's Eve, my father... Oh, my God, it's so quiet. My father-in-law said that he was going to... The dinner was that Amanda and her mother were going to make like a Mexican night.
Okay.
Have like quesadillas and
Ooh.
other types of queso that I pretty much inhaled
Oh, queso.
and all that stuff. Father-in-law said he's going to cook up some wings like he does every year. Like, cool, sounds great. I made my own, like buffalo ranch sauce.
Ooh.
And it was pretty good. It was like the hot buffalo. It wasn't just like the regular wing sauce. So it was,
Yeah.
you got a kick to it. It was delicious.
All right.
So here's the deal. How do you normally cook wings?
It depends what I have access to. I would prefer a smoker,
Okay.
but usually you temp them in the oven for a little bit and then fry.
Okay.
So that's usually the way it works. You usually temp them for a bit in the oven, then you fry them off, and then once they're done in the fryer, you drain off the excess fat and you toss them with the sauce.
Okay.
So
Would
good
you-
you?
Would you use a charcoal grill?
It wouldn't be my preferred choice now.
And say if you were to use a charcoal grill, how long would you cook it?
How many wings?
There was about 5 pounds total, and he did like 2 different iterations of it.
Okay.
So say just, I don't know what exactly he did, but just let's assume it's 2.5 pounds per,
Okay.
like cooking rotation, I guess.
Oh, flamethrower.
Yes.
Get rid of Ember. Fuck that.
Yeah. Goodbye, Ember.
So I'm safely assuming that to use a charcoal grill, he probably overcooked the living shit out of the wings. Or is it the opposite? Did they come out raw?
The opposite. Because according to him, using a charcoal grill for thawed out wings only takes 20 minutes.
What?
20 minutes.
What the fuck?
He cooked it for 20 minutes on a charcoal grill.
What? No. That's like at least an hour.
It gets better. He's like, he was saying that too. He's like, I should have went with my intuition and just done an hour. I wanted to look at him and go, what made you think it was only going to take 20 minutes to start with? Like, nothing unless you're frying them takes a lot longer than 20 minutes.
Like,
And frying still it's still a process.
frying is still at least a 10-minute process.
Yeah. So he cooks it for 20 minutes and he brings them out. I was like, I don't know. So I took one of the wings and I broke it up and it's just bloody. Nowhere near done.
Man.
So, what does he do? He says, oh, they'll be fine. Just nuke them.
You don't nuke chicken wings. Ever.
He puts the big plate of wings that he cooked in the microwave
Fucking...
for 25 minutes.
What a... For 25 minutes?
At 10-minute iterations, mind you.
First and foremost, you don't nuke chicken wings, especially after they've already started the cooking process. And second of all, who in the bright mind ever puts something in the microwave for 25 minutes? It is literally being blasted with radiation for 25 minutes.
It gets better. So we take them out of the microwave, and they're still pink. There's still pink in them. Because at this point, the bone is just bloody. And it just hasn't cooked through. So what does he do? He puts them in the oven.
Why not just put them in the oven in the first place?
He puts them in the oven for about, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes at 350. Needless to say, the wings came out, and they were burnt to a crisp. Absolutely just black.
Inedible.
Inedible. I've never bit into a wing that crunched like that, and I couldn't tear it off.
That's horrendous. Absolutely disgusting. As a professional, that's absolutely revolting to me.
I couldn't believe that was his process. So basically, my New Year's Eve dinner was lime chips and queso. That's all I ate.
Chips and queso.
And I felt that for 24 hours. But yeah, he decided to use a charcoal grill. Mind you, he also has a meat temp which we had to coax him into buying because he's like, "Oh no, I know how to cook it."
Clearly not.
Like, you need the temp because it's got to be right. So he brings it in. He had the temperature outside with him when it was 25 degrees. And then he comes in and puts the thermometer on one of the wings. It reads almost 150. And he's like, this says 150, but it should be good. I told him, man, I'm like, he's never allowed near any wings again. I will be doing it because this is horrendous. And the thing is,
Get rid of tackle for rain nets for now.
And the thing is, we have an air fryer. You ever have air fryer on the wings after you season them up and put them in? Amazing. We have an air fryer, a brand new one, a Ninja one. Very good. No. Instead, he decided to put these raw wings on a charcoal grill for 20 minutes and say it was done.
He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
He then ate the rest of the wings.
Why?
I didn't want to touch them because I felt I was going to get sick. He decided to eat them. He looked at me after the second batch came out because he just went straight for the oven. He's like, the second batch came out. He's like, "You going to have any?" I'm like, "Terry, I'm not trusting you. No, I'm not eating them." I figure you get a kick out of that.
If he's using a charcoal grill, at minimum for 5 pounds of wing, you're looking at a minimum of an hour.
At minimum.
At minimum.
And adjusting to the outside temperature with the charcoal, I don't even think he had it lit right either.
Like, at bare minimum, at least an hour. But at the same time, if you have access to an air fryer, why not just use it off the bat?
He's got this little fetish of cooking on the grill, which is fine. You know, cooking on the grill is great.
Ooh, no.
But you gotta have some common sense. He's so thick-headed, thick-skulled, that he just doesn't. Like I said, we had to go out of our way to buy a thermometer for him to use because he just didn't want to use it. He's like, "I know how long these take, and I know these are done." And clearly
not.
Clearly not.
I'm sorry, Terry, but you're wrong. You are very wrong.
And before we had an oil fryer years ago that we used that broke.
Snarl. Wow. His woo-woo got messed up.
We had an oil fryer that we had for a few years, years ago. Then it broke, and then we switched to air frying because it's just so much better.
Yeah.
Then very easily could have just used the air fryer for the wings, and he refused. So I told Amanda once we finally get our own place, 1, gas grill. I won't do charcoal. Propane. Yes. And then 2, I'm like, from now on, don't let him touch wings. Because he wasted 5 pounds of wings.
Yeah, like at that point, like I'm sorry, but there's just no... There's no way. There's no way.
It was... I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. That was his method.
Like...
The first time I shit you not, when... It's ice fact. When he was talking about it, he's like, "Okay, this will be done in about 20 minutes. I looked at Amanda and I'm like, "Is he only cooking them for 20 minutes? And she goes, "Yeah, that's what he said he found." I was like, "On what planet does a charcoal grill cook that fast?"
I absolutely dumbfounded.
There you go, folks. That's what I deal with.
Legitimately.
On a regular basis.
Legitimately dumbfounded. I was speechless for all of 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, no. And I guess for New Year's Day, yesterday, I guess he cooked ribs. He was cooking ribs for 3.5 hours. And they still weren't done.
He clearly...
He doesn't know how to cook meat. He does not know how to do it.
It's I wouldn't go so far as to say he doesn't know how to cook meat. I just don't think he understands temp to time.
Yeah.
Because temp to time is a big thing.
Now, cooking ribs is pretty rough because they're huge slabs of meat, and you got to make sure, because even though I like a little juice on mine, Amanda and her mother don't. It's got to be well done.
Oh, sauce sand. We could use that for somebody.
Yeah, so it's got to be well done. So the cooking time on that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But still, The fact that it was over 3 hours, because I was editing during all that.
Yeah.
Because when I heard he was cooking again, I'm like, I'm just gonna get something and get some body armor for my hangover. Get some body armor, and then I'm gonna get some food while I'm out, because I'm not gonna eat this dinner he's cooking.
So on the topic of cooking, Buddy Mason, his mom...
You know him. He was the boy with Sonic Unleashed.
Yeah, the boy. So his mom got me a really cool Christmas present. It's basically like a hand blender, like a hand immersion blender.
Okay.
With multiple attachments to put onto it, so it acts like it has like its own little like blending, like apparatus. It has a whisk you can put on it and all this other stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna make some homemade beer cheese.
Oh.
Since I haven't had a hand blender to make it at home.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I do, I'm gonna make some homemade beer cheese and give it to everybody because I have a really good recipe. I've never had the tools here to do it.
The means to make it.
So I can't wait to do it. I can't wait for you to try it. I love it. I love it.
There hasn't been anything that you've made that I have not liked. And there are things that I don't like eating, like stew for one. I don't like eating because the vegetables can sometimes get soggy, and I just don't like that. I'm a very texture-oriented eater.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't feel right when I'm eating it, or the texture I just don't like, I won't like it. But the what was it, beef stew that you made? Was it your beef stew? That's famous.
Oh yeah.
I love the shit out of it. And pretty much everything else that you've made.
Yeah,
there hasn't been anything I haven't liked.
The beef stew is a really famous story because it was the first thing that my grandma ever told me I made better than her.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
And that was a really, really big pick-me-up at the time.
Yeah.
Like, she literally outright said, that's the best stew I've ever had in my life. It's better than anything I've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, she was like, I want the recipe from you because you made it better than me.
That's awesome.
And I do something that people don't do, is the fact that I started off with pork instead of beef at first.
Okay.
Because pork, naturally, when you buy it in whole cuts that you cut up yourself, has a lot more fat on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you use that fat to act as a coating apparatus for your Dutch oven. So, you dice up the pork, you season salt, pepper, garlic powder, paprika. You know, you put it in there with just a little bit of oil. You don't even need much. Mm-hmm. And you just brown all that off, and you get all that fat rendered off the pork. So when you remove the pork, and you put your beef in, the thing that I don't tell anybody about, and this is going to be a big thing that comes out now, is the fact that when I do the beef cuts, and I dice them up and I season them, same thing as the pork, salt, pepper, garlic powder, paprika, I rub it also with a little bit of cumin and honey.
Ooh,
because honey breaks down protein. And then when you're slow cooking beef, when it has honey onto it, it makes it super, super tender.
Ooh, okay.
And then that way, it has the beef flavor, the pork flavor, and then after all that's browned off, you remove that out, and you have all of that nice brown stuff in the pan, you have all the excess oil, that's when you throw in your onions, your garlic, and then you know, once those are all nice and browned up, you start adding everything else in, then your stock, and then the meat, and then you just slow simmer it for 4 hours, and bibbidi bobby, dinner.
Now I'm hungry.
I love making stew. And then I remember, did you ever have? I think you had to have. You had some, and Zach had some when I made the 10,000 calorie stew. When I broke out that recipe from when I was a wrestler, the 10K stew.
Maybe.
It had the mushrooms in it, and it had chicken, pork, and beef in it.
Oh right, okay. I think I'm starting to remember that now.
And it had spinach, it had meatballs, like, and this thing.
Yeah, the thing was just.
And it was just this massive pot of meat and broth and vegetables. And I remember Zach specifically had one bowl and went to bed. Because he was like, God, it was so good. It just rolls over on my couch and goes to sleep.
I remember that because it reminds me of, like, what you... I can imagine you saying, like, you looked at Campbell's Chunky and you're like, fuck, I could do better than this. And
I did. I literally did.
Pokey job. Yeah, sure. I already know.
Of course you do.
Alright. Off to the fire, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, kill that Sudowoodo.
Come here.
They give some good experience.
You know, for the longest time, it took me a while to realize that Sudowoodo is rock and not grass.
Yeah.
Even though it imitates a tree. You would think, no, maybe it's grass because it's kind of like a tree. It's not moving. It's perfectly still.
And now it's perfectly dead.
Whap. Oh my god.
Sturdy.
Sturdy, of course.
And now Quickie's revenge. Oh, Waka.
No.
You can no longer escape.
That's
All
fine.
right.
That's fine. Bite it with ice.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to you trying the
I
beer
can't wait.
cheese. Because if you ever make beer cheese, and for anybody watching, there's a secret to beer cheese, and the fact is you always use Yingling.
Yes, Yingling is very good for cooking.
Always use Yingling. I never use another beer when I make beer cheese. It's too good.
Some people use Corona. Some people use.
Nah.
I don't think anybody's ever used Budweiser, but Yingling is the go-to for cooking. Absolutely.
It's so good. So good.
And next time we're gonna fight this old lady.
She's trying to throw hands. Look at that.
Yeah,
She's already squaring up, too.
This is the stats.
She was like, youngin', I'm gonna whip that ass.